In this episode, we're going to look at how to connect the physical layer. I'll show you how to do it and have a discussion of the concepts along the way. In this activity, we're going to explore the different options available on internetworking devices. We'll also be required to determine which options provide the necessary connectivity when connecting multiple devices. Finally, we'll add the correct modules and connect the devices. We'll be discussing identifying physical characteristics of internetworking devices, selecting correct modules for connectivity, connecting devices, and checking connectivity. Greetings to all my tech heads out there in the KevTechify nation. And if you're new here, welcome. This episode is part of my series on practical configuration examples for the CCNA. I'm Kevin here at KevTechify. Let's get this adventure started. Connect the physical layer. I got the lab opened up. Once again, on the left side is my work area for Packet Tracer. This is where all my devices are. This is where we'll do our configuration. On the right side, on the bottom right, I have the Packet Tracer activity window up there. I leave that open so we can check our results. On the right side upper, I have the Word document. I got that open. I can follow along. I read my instructions from there. That is also where I can go and enter in the answers to the questions. Here's our objectives. Once again, we're going to look at connecting up all these devices, making our network there, understanding our connections as we use them. Going through here. Part 1. Identify the physical characteristics of internetworking devices. Identify the management port of a Cisco router. Click the East router. Over here, East router is almost in the center. Go ahead and click on that. Slide it over a little bit. Click the physical tab, should be active, or the physical tab should be active. It is. Click zoom in and expand the window to see the entire router. Right here's the zoom in button. Go ahead and click on that. I'm going to make the window a little bit bigger so we can see the entire device. And there it is. That's actually what the back of this router looks like. 1941 router. That's the model number, 1941. If you had one, you can turn around. This is what it would look like. Zoom in, expand the window to see the entire router. Which management ports are available? Now, once again, management ports are how we configure it out of band. Out of band takes away any network ports. That takes away all of our Ethernet ports. That takes away all of our serial ports. If we look here on this device, we notice that we have 2 USB ports. Well, those definitely aren't management ports. We have 2, if you can read it, it says GE. Those are gigabit Ethernet ports. Those definitely aren't our management ports. Over here, these are high-speed serial connections. That connects up to our network. Definitely not management ports. That leaves us these 2 in the middle. This aux port and console port. Console port is that console cable we connect into, configure it out of band. An aux port is so you can have a modem at a remote location, dial into that modem, and then that modem connects into the aux port, and that allows you to configure that device remotely without having to be there. Our 2 management ports are the console port and the aux port. There we go. Identify the LAN and WAN interfaces of a Cisco router. Which LAN and WAN interfaces are available on the East router and how many are there? We are still looking at the East router. We have that window open here. We zoomed in. Now we're looking for our LAN and WAN interfaces. The LAN interfaces are the Ethernet ports. This is gigabit 00 and this is gigabit 01. That would be our LAN interfaces. LAN is 2 gigabit Ethernet ports. And WAN would be our serial connection. WAN would be our serial connection. And so WAN, we have 1 here and 1 here. Yes, it's one card, but we can have multiple connections on a card. 1, 2. We have 2 serial ports. 2 serial ports. There we go. Let's spell ports correctly. Click the CLI tab, press enter. Back over here on our East router there, I'm going to click the CLI tab, press enter. I like to press enter several times, give me some work area. And enter the following command. Show IP interface brief. Show IP interface brief. The output verifies the correct number of interfaces and their designation. VLAN 1 is a virtual interface that only exists in software. Once again, we have 2 gigabit Ethernet ports here. That's what we came up with. That was our answer right here. And then we have 2 serial ports, which are our WAN connections. 2 serial ports. There we go. How many physical interfaces are listed? Well, we got the 2 LAN, 2 WAN, 2 gig Ethernet, 2 serial. Our answer is 4. Type the following commands. Now, once again, we can use tab completion, or we can type a shorter version of it until it's unique. Now, it says type in show SOHOW. I'm only going to type in SOH because that's unique. Interface, INT, space, gigabit Ethernet 0/0. You could go ahead and type gigabit Ethernet 0, or just type G and then 0/0. That will give you that gigabit 00 interface. Here's our information. I make the window a little bit bigger, up and down wise, to show us all the information. What is the default bandwidth of this interface? Default bandwidth. We start looking through here. We have this. We have some information about the hardware, our IP address. Down here, 4th line down, it says BW. BW stands for bandwidth. Our bandwidth is, well, that's 3 zeros and then 3 more zeros and 1. So it's 1 million kilobits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And kilobit. Well, 1 million kilobit is 1,000 megabits, which is 1 gigabit. Once again, that is the interface we are in. We are in a gigabit interface, so our bandwidth should be a gigabit, which it is. Excellent. Show interface serial 000. Show int, and we can abbreviate just an S here, 0/0/0, and that gives us our information. I'm going to hit the space bar to get all of it there. What is the default bandwidth of this interface? Default bandwidth. Once again, we are looking for that line that had the BW in it. It stands for bandwidth. Here, our bandwidth is 1,544 kilobits. 1,544 kilobits, or 1.544 megabits. And for those of you who are familiar with T1 connections, that is the bandwidth of a T1 connection. I'm assuming then that is a T1 connection running into that serial interface. Step 3, identify module expansion slots. Question is, how many expansion slots are available to add additional modules to the East router? Okay, so we are in still the East router window. If not, go ahead and just click on the East router, pulls it up. Click on the physical tab here. As we look at the physical tab, notice we have this expansion slot here. It's labeled HWIC 0. There's no label here, so this is not an expansion slot. Over here on the left, though, this is labeled HWIC, HWIC 1, and there's nothing in there. This expansion slot is available. We have one expansion slot available here. An expansion slot. On switch 2, how many expansion slots are available? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close eSwitch configuration window. I am looking for switch 2 down here. Switch 2, bring it over, expand it out, zoom in, and if we look here, router's a little bit different than a switch. And notice we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 different modules in 5 different slots here. But the last 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they're empty. This one does not have a cover plate on it. These last 4 all have cover plates on them. But they're available to actually put modules in, so you could expand that way. And if you mouse over and you leave your mouse there for a second, you can see that it does say at the end, it's a cover. It's just a simple little cover plate. There's no module. So we have 5 different slots that are available here. Five slots available. Part 2. Step 1, determine the modules provided the required connectivity. Click East. Then click the physical tab. We're already on there. On the left, beneath the modules label, you see the available options to expand the capabilities of the router. Click each module. A picture and a description display at the bottom. Familiarize yourself with these options. Okay. Over here in our East configuration window on the physical tab, underneath modules, these are all available modules that we could take and place in this available slot. If you click on this first one, this HWIC-1GE-SFP, I click on it. This is what it looks like. So we have a picture of it down here in the bottom right corner. Bottom left, this is a description of it. This is a single HWIC with a small form factor pluggable slot in it, SFP. What this is it's a module that takes another module in here. These modules are more standardized, the SFPs. You hear a lot of people talk about them in data centers, in places like that. Having an SFP, that's what we're going for. Now, what we're doing essentially is converting from a Cisco module into a standardized SFP that a lot of companies use. Next one, HWIC 2T, gives us a 2-port serial high speed. This is our serial connections. Once again, we have 2 of them here. HWIC 4 ESW, 4 switching ports, just like switching on a router. These are basically, it's a small 4-port switch you have. HWIC 8A gives us 8 asynchronous lines. EI 232, where we heard 232 before, or RS 232. Essentially, what you can do is plug the end of one of those 8 asynchronous cables into a console port, and then be able to configure those devices through console ports. We have the cover, just a blank, simple cover. Doesn't take up a module slot. It just covers it up to provide airflow, keep dust out. And then the last one, GLC LH-SMD. 1000 base, operates gigabit Ethernet ports of Cisco Industrial Ethernet and smart grid switches and routers. It's a specialized switch. Unless you are probably in a manufacturing environment, you probably won't use those. Okay, so we did that. Question here is, you need to connect PCs 1, 2, and 3 to the East router, but you don't have the necessary funds to purchase a new switch. Which module can you use to connect 3 PCs to the East router? Well, looking through these again, this was a small form factor. Nope. This is a T2, 2 serial connections. This was the 4EW, provides 4 switching ports. This is like a 4-port switch. I only have to connect 3 devices, so we can use this. This would be it. That would be our answer there. HWIC-4ESW. How many hosts can you connect to the router using this module? Oh, like we just said, we can connect 4. Click on switch 2. I'm going to go ahead and close east. I'm going to click on switch 2, slide over, expand it out. Which module can you insert to provide a gigabit optical connection to switch 3? From switch 2, we want to get a gigabit optical connection to switch 3. Well, once again, we have to go on the physical tab underneath modules and find something that says gigabit optical connection. PT switch-MN-1CE. Is this a single Ethernet port? Nope, doesn't sound like it. This provides one fast Ethernet interface that uses copper. Copper's not fiber, not it. CGE gives us gigabit Ethernet copper connectivity. Nope, that's not it. This here, fast Ethernet interfaces using media. We go back over here, it's asking for gigabit, not fast Ethernet. Remember, fast Ethernet is a maximum of 100 megabits per second. We are looking for gigabit per second. This does not qualify. Even though it's fiber, it's fast Ethernet, so that does not work. 1FGE over here provides gigabit optical. Optical is fiber. This provides gigabit Ethernet. This would be the one we would be looking for. The one that ends with the 1FGE. So our answer here is PT-switch-NM-1FGE. And there are dashes, not underscores. There we go. Add the correct modules and power up devices. What they're having us do is add in some modules. We're going to learn how to add modules in. This process is almost the same as if you had the physical hardware and you had to add in modules. Click the east. Once again, I'm going to close switch 2, open up east, slide her over, make her a little bigger, zoom in. There we go. And attempt to insert the appropriate modules from step 1A. This was the appropriate module, the HWIC 4ESW. Modules are added by clicking the module and dragging. Over here, we can go and click on the HWIC 4ESW, drag it over. Notice if I'm not on an available slot, it gives me the sort of the I can't do it sign, red circle with a line through it. But where I put it, where I can put it, that goes away. So I can go there and I can release my mouse button, but it gives me an error. Cannot add module. Cannot add a module when the power is on. This is true of your physical devices. When you're actually doing this in a closet or in your lab, you actually have to turn off the devices. Now to turn it off, we have to go over here, and this is our virtual on-off switch. Notice right now the green light signifies it's on. If I go ahead and push the off side of it, notice the switch toggled and it turned gray. I can go back, I can now grab the module, the 4ESW, come over here, drag it in, drop it. That would be you installing it. Then we can go ahead and turn it back on. Once again, notice before I turned it on here, it's gray and the switch is a little down. I'm going to go ahead and click on the switch. It slides up a little, it rocks up, and then the switch turns green. Now it's on. Using the same procedure, insert the module you identified in step 1B into the slot farthest to the right on switch 2. Okay, we're looking at switch 2. Come over here, zoom in, make this a little bit bigger. Probably don't get to see all of it, but that's fine because we only have our management ports, power switch, and power cable over there. These are our ports. We are looking to do this to the empty slot furthest to the right. If we look here, this black one, that's the empty slot furthest to the right. What we identified in step 1B, we identified the fiber gigabit, the FGE switch, or module, sorry. Come over here, find that. There's the 1 fiber gigabit Ethernet. Go ahead, drag it over. Once again, notice it's the I cannot place it here sign until I get over it. Go ahead, put it there. Oh, I forgot to turn it off. Slide over here, cycle power, green light goes off. I can grab the 1FG again, place it in here. Notice it goes right in this time. Go ahead, power back up, and boots up. Okay, that takes care of B onto C. Use the show IP interface brief command on switch 2 to identify the slot in which the module was placed. Once again, we are on switch 2 here. Use this command. We have to do the command in the CLI. We have to change to the CLI tab. And we have to enter in this command. Hit enter a couple times. Make sure we're logged in, gives us some spot. Here's the command, show IP interface brief. And you can abbreviate that, show IP int BR. And it shows us that right there. Now, we inserted a gigabit fast Ethernet fiber connection. If we look here, that went into the 6th slot. Look over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Back to our CLI. Notice the first one starts off with 0/1. The second one, 0 or 1/1. Third one, 2/1. Notice first one is 0. Second one is 2, 3, fourth port, fifth port. It went into the 6th port. What slot was it entered into? It was the 6th slot, but we want the name of it. We want Gigabit Ethernet 5/1. That's where we entered it. So Gigabit Ethernet 5/1 is our answer. I hope you're liking this episode on practical configuration examples. Leave a comment on what you think about these configuration examples. If you still have a question or comment, please let me know below. You can also visit my website at KevTechify.com for all of my details and how to get these episodes in video and podcast form. Part 3, connect the devices. This may be the first activity you're required to connect devices. Although you may not know the purpose of all these cables, we should by now know the purpose of them. Use the table below to successfully connect that. Select the appropriate cable type. We do that down here, and if your cable type went away, once again, just click on that orange lightning bolt. Here are all of our connection types, all listed here. Click the first device, that would be the one on the left, and then click the port, click the second device, and select the interface. If you correctly connect the 2 devices, you'll see your score increase. And that's why we keep this packet tracer activity window open here in the bottom right. Down here, the completion percentage, every time you connect the cable correctly, that should increase a little. And then by the time we are done, you should be at 100%. Okay, let's start working through this. Now, for the first one, they're having us get a copper straight through cable. Down here, I've clicked on connections. Here's our connection submenu. These are all the connections available to us. They want us to get a copper straight through. This is the copper straight through one again. Go ahead and click on that. First device we're connecting to here is East Gigabit Ethernet 0/0. Find the East router. East router here is in the center. Notice how my cursor's changed to an unshielded twisted pair with an RJ45 on it. A lot of people call them Ethernet cables. Go ahead and click on your East router. We are connecting to Gigabit Ethernet 00. But before I connect or click on Gigabit Ethernet 00, look at our completion score in the bottom right. Completion score is 0%. Come back over here, click on Gigabit Ethernet 0/0, Hasn't increased it yet because we didn't do the other side. Now we connected to switch 1, gigabit Ethernet 01. Gigabit Ethernet 01 on switch 1. Down a little bit to the left is switch 1. We are looking for gigabit Ethernet 01. The top here are fast Ethernet ports. Those are our 100 megabit max ports. We're supposed to connect it into the gigabit Ethernet 0 port. Gigabits are listed below that. Here we have our gigabit Ethernet 0. Go ahead and click on that. And notice our completion percentage. It now went up to 7%. We had that done correctly. If we notice we have one green triangle and one orange circle. It's supposed to be the color amber. Green means we got it connected in. Orange means it's still negotiating the connections. But it will get to green eventually. Let's go on to the second one. We need a straight through cable again. We're going to connect east, gigabit Ethernet 01. So east, gigabit Ethernet 01 to switch 4, gig 01. Switch 4, gig 01. Once again, gigabits on the bottom. Go ahead and click that. If we look back to our first connection, they're both green right now. And we have a green and an amber one again. That will turn to a green triangle here in a second or two. On to our third line, straight through copper Ethernet. We are going from our east router, fast Ethernet 010. So here, fast Ethernet 010 to PC1, fast Ethernet 0. PC1 is up to the left. We only have one Ethernet connection there, fast Ethernet 0. Just like it says, connect that in. Notice it has to go through negotiation again. Next one, copper, straight through from east 011 to PC2 fast Ethernet 0. Fourth one down, fifth one down we're on actually. Now they're straight through. We're going from east 012 and into our fast Ethernet 0. These were 3 out of the 4 ports that you put into that router with that module card. We've used those up. Continuing on. Now we're going to start looking at the different switches and connecting them up to different things. Here we need another straight through copper. We're going from switch 1. Switch 1 and sort of bottom left where we were just working. We're looking for our fast Ethernet 01. That's the top one listed here right below the console. We're connecting that into PC4. There's our Ethernet. Once again, noticing our completion is increasing a little bit each time. Has to go through negotiation. That's why we don't have the 2 green triangles right away. On to the next one, another copper straight through. That goes from fast Ethernet 02 on switch 1 to PC5. The Ethernet there. And the next one is another straight through from fast Ethernet 03 to PC6. One thing that you may have to do sometimes with these labs, notice PC5 switch 1 connection only has 1 triangle. Actually it has 2, but they're stacked. So I'm just going to click, hold, pull down a little bit, spread them out. You can see that we do have the 2 connections. They're still going through the final negotiations with the switch. But like I said before, they will get there shortly. Okay, we are now on the 4th from the bottom. Here we're asking for a copper crossover cable. Copper crossover cable. Looking through here, copper crossover is the dashed line. Go ahead and click on that. We are going from switch 4, gigabit Ethernet 2, which is down on the bottom of the list, to switch 3, gigabit Ethernet 3.1. So to switch 3, gigabit Ethernet 3/1. Add that connected up. Notice both sides have to go through negotiations. The sides with the switches typically have to go through negotiations, and that's what they're doing. Once again, we connected up 2 switches, like devices with each other. That's why we had to use that copper crossover cable. From the 3rd line from the bottom, we need a piece of fiber. This was that fiber card you put in earlier. Down here on our connection submenu, fiber is the orange angled line. Switch 3. If we notice, we have 2 fiber connections here, but it's telling us to use the gigabit Ethernet 5/1. Well, there it is, gigabit Ethernet 5/1. Go ahead and click that up, and that connects into switch 2 gigabit Ethernet 5/1. Go ahead and click on switch 2, down to gigabit Ethernet 5/1. It's got the little fiber connector symbol right there. There we are. Spread them out a little bit. Notice they're still going through negotiation. Everything else that had to go through negotiation, we're there already. Second switch from the second line from the bottom. We're using a copper straight through cable again. We're connecting switch 2 right here. And on switch 2, it's the fast Ethernet 01, and we're going to PC7. Fast Ethernet. Another copper straight through, switch 2 to PC8. Connect that in. Scroll down a little bit more. We've got our last 3 connections. Another copper straight through, switch 2, fast Ethernet 2/1 to PC9. There it is. Second to the last line here is a copper straight through again. Switch 2 gig 3/1. So on switch 2 gig 3/1, connect it up there to access point port 0. We go down to access point, click on it, connect it up to our port 0. We've connected our switch to there. That will hopefully allow us to connect our wireless devices in. And then one last connection. We need to connect the east to the west routers. What we're going to do is typically when we connect up routers, a lot of times we use those serial connections. And that's what we put in. It was a serial card into that router, the east router. Okay. We need a serial DCE. Down here on our connection sub menu, slide over till we find our serial DCE connection. Right there, it's the red lightning bolt with a little clock on it. It's our serial DCE. Connect to the east first. Connect it to the east first. That goes into serial 000. Once again, the card you put in had 2 connections, so make sure you get the right one. And then that goes to west serial 000. Over here, click on west serial 000. Connect those up. And there you go. We have wired our network. Tablet and laptop aren't connected because we're going to connect those in wirelessly, but everything else is wired together. Part 4, let's check our connectivity. Step 1, check the interface status on the east router. Click the CLI tab, enter the following commands. Go ahead and click on east, slide it over, click on CLI. Once again, I like to open up my window a little bit more. I hit enter several times to give me a nice clean working area. And the command they want me to enter is show IP int brief, or BR. Should match to what they have in the lab. Notice our connections are up. We did not use that second serial connection, so that is not up, meaning it's not working. And the only other thing that in here we have serial fast Ethernet 01/3. That's our 4th port. We only connected up 3 PCs, so that makes sense also. Excellent. Close the window. On to step 2, connect the wireless devices, laptop and tablet PC. We're going to connect these up wirelessly to the network. Click on the laptop. Make sure the config tab is selected. Select the wireless 0 interface. Underneath here on the left side, underneath interface, you'll see wireless 0. Put a check in the box labeled on next to the port status. We look in here in our window, here's port status, but there's nothing next to it. Let's make the window a little bit bigger. There it was, it wasn't all the way on. Now, Next to port status, put a checkbox in the on, and it turns it on. Now, when I do that, look at the laptop. Give it a second or two, but now it connects in wirelessly. See, these little lines represent a wireless connection. We have now connected it in there. Okay. On to step 2B. Click the desktop tab. There we go. Click on the web browser. So we're going to open up a web browser here. Enter in www.cisco.pka. That's a web server in the URL box and click go. www.cisco.pka. Go. There it is. That is the message we should be getting. And that shows we have our wireless connection between our laptop and our access point. On to step 2C. Click the tablet PC. I'm going to go ahead and close the laptop window. Click on the tablet PC. Slide her over. Select the config tab. Select the wireless 0 interface. Click config tab. Underneath interfaces, we have wireless 0. Go ahead and click on that. Put a check in the box labeled on next to the port status. Once again, we can't see it. Let's make that window a little bit bigger. There we go. Put a check in the box labeled on. And notice we will get our connection here in a second. There we go. We are now connected our tablet up to the access point. Repeat step 2B to verify the settings. Want us to open up the web page. Go ahead and click on the desktop tab. Click on the web browser. Opens up the web browser. There we go. Our URL is www.cisco.pka. And it displays our web page. Once again, showing us we have our wireless connection. Step 3. Change the access method of the tablet PC. Click the tablet PC, which is going to open up the window we have. Select the config tab. Go over here on the config tab. Select the wireless 0 interface. Uncheck the box labeled on. Okay, wireless interface. Go ahead and click on that. Port status. The check box labeled on. Go ahead and uncheck that. Notice our wireless connection disappears. Click on the 3G, 4G Cell 1 interface. Now, once again, that's on the left here in our tablet window. 3G, 4G Cell 1. Put a check in the box labeled on next to port status. We'll go up here. Once again, turn this port on. Give it a second and notice we are going to get a connection, but now we're going to the cell tower. We're using the cellular network. A little bit different color, once again, to signify this is a cellular connection versus a Wi-Fi connection. And there you go. Let's open up the desktop. Make sure we're in the web browser. Go ahead, hit go again, reload it in, and there we have it. Our web browser worked. Check the connectivities of all the other PCs that have connectivity to the website and each other. You will learn to use connectivity testing in many of the upcoming labs. Quickly, let's go ahead and open up PC 7. Go ahead and click on the desktop, open up the window here. Click on the web browser. In there, we'll put in www.cisco.pka. Gives us our web page. Come up here, PC3. Just check another part of our network. Open up our web browser, put in our web address, www.cisco.pka. We have our connectivity. There you go. It was my pleasure to provide you with this wonderful episode on configuration examples. If you like this episode and you got value out of it, please click that like button, give a 5-star rating, leave a comment. This all helps me bring you more great content. Please take a minute to subscribe to my channel. All my socials and contact information are on my website, KevTechify.com. There you can find out how to get all these episodes in video and podcast form. Thank you so much for watching this episode of my series on practical configuration examples for the CCNA. I've created 4 wonderful playlists for you on the CCNA. These episodes, I go through all the concepts that Cisco calls out for the CCNA. Once again, I'm Kevin. This is KevTechify. I'll see you next time for another great adventure.